Off and running, TSN 1050 on the TSN app, your home smart speaker, up on TSN 4, up on YouTube Live. Brian Hayes and Dave Feschuk in here, the Toronto Star. What's happening, Dave? You're a lake guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know where I stand on that. Natural bodies of water. I don't do those things.
Fear of the unknown?
Fear of the unknown, just not my style. I like a temperature I can predict and possibly manipulate. Right? Like if you're a pool owner, you're like, hey, you want 85? We're doing that.
So you go look at the thermometer before you jump in?
Yeah, I might. I'll dip the toe in just to make sure everything's, where I want it to be.
Right.
I don't think that's A, inappropriate, B, high maintenance, or C, anything but a modern mentality. Like we're living in, you don't think people 1,000 years ago would love a pool that they could control? Like think about it, Dave. Imagine that. You're jumping in lakes and oceans and ponds and creeks. Get with the times.
Yeah.
Get with the times,
look, man. I enjoy jumping into anything. Like I'm one of those guys. Like I went up to the North Sea one time. Like I jumped into the ocean just outside St. Andrews there, which is just freezing.
Really?
Yeah.
As like a cold.
Just as like a thing to do for fun.
Okay. But not like a plunge thing. Not like I'm gonna wash away all the toxins and all that.
I was young and stupid there with a bunch of friends, and we all said, why don't we just jump in the ocean?
I used to do that. Yeah. I'm not young and stupid anymore. Yeah. I'm old and stupid.
Now I'm old and stupid. Exactly.
But I know what I like and what I don't like, and that's how I operate.
But there's something about I get where you're coming from. I'm always a little bit, very cautious. I've seen I know people that have, taken a dive into an unknown body of water and come out much worse for wear and very tragic kind of things that have happened to them, because going head first into anything is very dangerous. Going feet first can be dangerous.
It can be.
And so I'm cautious. I'm not a daredevil. I don't do the cliff jumping. I saw some kids up in Georgian Bay this weekend jumping off cliffs 30, 40 feet. And I'm like, that's insane.
Well, you know what's crazy about that stuff? Because I used to do that as a kid, but it would always be like word of mouth. Hey, someone told me if you go over here and jump, it's awesome. And you just do it.
Yeah.
And you just assume, like, no one fed you any misinformation.
Hopefully,
exactly. Like, I remember doing that. Like, yeah, if you go down there, there's a little cliff, you'll jump right in. It's totally awesome.
Deep enough, no rocks.
No problems
at all. You
won't
die.
No, and then you do it, and now you think back, you're like, what? Maybe I should have tested that out.
Yes.
Or why did I trust that guy at the gas station who told me that's the place to go?
Well, you gotta you gotta
live a little.
You're putting your faith in like the time-honored traditions of a local area.
That's right. And I still support that. I'm not saying I'm against any of this. But I'm just saying, me personally, I'm not doing it.
And I get where you're coming from, but I will say, and I like a heated pool. Don't get me wrong. It's nice to jump into a heated pool, but there's a certain refreshment that comes with a nice, clean lake.
Okay.
Like it just...
You do look like a new man today.
If you've been a little sweaty, especially if it's a hot day.
I hear you.
And you've been getting a lather on, playing some bocce or whatever the hell you're doing on the land, if you jump in that water, if it was 85, I'm not sure there's the same refreshment as a nice kind of middle-of-the-road lake.
That's valid. I hear you. Listen, it'll happen from time to time. Like, my kids will drag me in, I'm going in.
Okay.
I'm just saying, if you're giving me a choice, I'm probably not doing it. And it's not something I'm, dying to do. But when you were in there, was it a sense of, a cleansing where now you came out and you're like, I'm a believer, the Blue Jays are chasing that third wild card spot? Did you see the light?
I was there with some Blue Jays fans who very much wanted to believe, but no. I did not.
You didn't see the light.
It was not some sort of baptism of
optimism,
new innocence and optimism. No, I did not come out feeling as though it's a new season, even though they looked pretty damn good against the Phillies.
They absolutely did, and they have recently. They've won a lot of series. I guess they're counting that Chicago game as a series.
Okay.
And that game is crushing. That's one you're going to circle and say, I remember that. They had it. Varland's been perfect. And somehow that game got away from them, and they made some brilliant defensive plays, including Nathan Lucas in right field at Wrigley and down in Philly yesterday, which this guy looks like basically Ichiro in right field with his arm right now. It's unbelievable. And at the plate, he was phenomenal this weekend. He's been great recently. But this is what I appreciate about baseball, that, not to get
look at that cannon.
Just brilliant, man. It's carbon copy of what he did at Wrigley, basically. to save the game. I mean, it was just an unbelievable play by Nathan Lucas, and they wasted both of those by losing the game in extra innings. But the beauty of baseball, there's two things. One pertains to the salary cap and the fact that it doesn't exist. And I understand, you look at the Dodgers, and, I was listening to, I think it was ESPN radio last night. I was coming back from my own softball game. We actually won in extra innings. That wasn't extra innings, but it was the last inning, and we put a pretty quality performance
Did
together.
you walk it off?
We actually did walk it off,
okay,
which was great. It was under the lights, 11:30. Everyone wanted to go home. It was awesome. But I was listening on the way home, and there was a guy making the case, like, the only hope you have for the Dodgers losing is the baseball gods. It's like they didn't need Scuba, but they got him. And they didn't need Tucker, but they got him. Basically, in spite of someone else getting him. It wasn't like they needed them. They're like, oh, we're just going to take them.
Right.
And that's kind of what you're banking on. So it's not as if baseball is perfect and the economics of it all. And if you're a believer in equity and, everyone getting a chance.
Parity
and all that kind of stuff. Maybe as of today, you don't feel great about that because of the Dodgers in particular. But I like that I don't have to crunch numbers all the time. I hate that about hard salary caps in particular. The NHL, clearly the worst. Clearly the worst.
Oh,
like a guy makes an extra $500,000. You're like, oh, that could hurt. Maybe they got to lose someone on the fourth line because he got an extra $500,000. And it's a part of the whole arithmetic of the whole thing. It's a calculation. It's a math quiz to see who can build a championship team.
Yep.
I love that in baseball, I don't have to consider that. It doesn't mean budgets don't exist. They do. Doesn't mean smaller markets don't lose guys because they price themselves out. Again, not perfect, but different. Another thing about baseball is tanking isn't really a thing. Like you're not tanking for the first pick in baseball the way you do in other sports.
Yeah.
It just doesn't work the same way. The draft isn't nearly as guaranteed. A first overall pick is not walking right in and playing for you. It's just a completely different dynamic. So I guess what I'm getting to is I love that Blue Jay fans are like, try to win. Because the shoe was on the other foot with the Leafs, right? At this point last year with the Leafs, it was like, you better lose every single night. And part of that was tied to the Boston pick and the Fraser Minton trade. But at this point last year, it was like, I don't want to watch out of fear they might win. Or if I'm watching, I want them to lose, which is a very bizarre mentality. It's a reasonable one. It's a part of sports. It's what makes the league, great in some ways. But I like the fact that even though they're 3.5 out and they have like a 7% chance of getting in, and yes, they're winning 2 out of 3, they need a long run, in my opinion, to really make it serious. And this is the week. You got the Boston Red Sox for 4 and the Yankees for 3.
Yep.
This is it. 7 straight at the Rogers Center. The Dome's going to be open every night. The weather's perfect this week. You got to win, I think, 5 of 7 to make a serious statement.
Mm-hmm.
Serious. If you go 5-2, let alone 6-1. I'm not holding my breath on 7-0. You go 7-0, parade time. People are going nuts here. 6-1, people are going crazy. 5-2, I think you legitimately are probably like 2 games out of the wild card with 35 games to play. You're in the hunt.
Got a good chance.
You got a chance. But I appreciate, and I'm on board with it, root for them to win every single game.
Yes.
Go for it. There's no tanking here in baseball. There's no tanking with the Blue Jays. Try to find a miracle here if you can.
Well, first of all, I'm not sure you're going to be able to say the first part of what you just said in another year, right? Because the idea that this won't be a salary cap league a year from now is getting harder and harder to believe the more you read about the way this labor negotiation is going to go, right? Because they may not call it a salary cap. They may not call it a hard salary cap. Just like the NBA doesn't call their salary cap a hard salary cap, but with this new apron system, it's essentially become a hard salary cap in the NBA. And you've got a situation where you've already had 2 star players in, the guy that just won the NBA championship in Brunson and Victor Wembanyama basically having to take hometown discounts to say, I want to be on a winning team, therefore I'm going to forego the maximum dollars allowed, right? Which is what, Connor McDavid and the rest of the best NHL players have been doing, maybe not in Toronto, for years. So I'm not sure, maybe one of the best things about baseball is probably going to be gone in a year from now. Let's hope not,
might.
But, cross our fingers. But I agree with you on the system. Like, how do you not love it? Like, the Jays are 4th last in the American League. Mm-hmm. 4th last. There's only 3 teams below them.
Yes.
And we're still sitting here going 3.5 back, have one good week. You can be right back in the race and feeling like you've got a real chance to sneak into the playoffs. And then who knows from there, right? Like the who knows from there part, when you added the extra wild card, it just added so much more hope to so many more markets for so much longer into the summer.
Yes.
That the owners are just like, rubbing their hands together and licking their lips saying, yeah, keep coming to the ballpark. Keep pretending that we got a chance, because they probably are pretending. I mean, when you got
until they prove otherwise,
a 93% chance not to make it.
Yes.
I mean, you're probably not going to make it. You probably are kidding yourself. But it's fun to kid yourself when the weather's perfect and the Red Sox and Yankees are coming to town. And if you have one good week, suddenly that 93% chance might become an 87% chance that you're not going to make it.
Yeah. Well, exactly. You're chipping away week by week. And there's still a lot of games left to be. They got 43 games left to play.
Yeah, that's the other thing, right?
There's still, it's August 10th. There's still a lot of baseball. Again, I'm not putting money on it. I'm not putting my house on it. And I think it's more daunting that they have to jump over 6 teams than it is the actual bold number of 3.5 back.
Yeah.
Like if you were 3.5 games back of only Texas, but everyone else was behind you, I would feel much more comfortable with the idea of one team having to fold. It's that you can get hot, and coincidentally, Seattle can get hot, or Cleveland can get hot at the same time.
Yeah, Detroit can get hot. They've won 2 in a row. Of those 6 teams, they're the hottest team. They've won 2 in a row, but everybody else is not playing that well.
No.
Like Mariners have lost 4 in a row. The Guardians have lost 2 in a row. Twins have lost 2 in a row, and the Rangers have lost 1. So, it's a funny little logjam of mostly sub 500 teams. I think Texas is 500 right on the number. It's a very strange American League this year. But because of that, to your point, there's reason to go to the ballpark this week.
Well, and they don't look like a team that is quitting. I thought that loss in Chicago was going to be very difficult to get up off the mat, and they battled all weekend, man. They had a true opportunity to sweep. Like yesterday, when that's 5-2, and you've been traveling everywhere. You got Houston, Chicago, Philly. Woe is me, I get it, first world problems, but that's a lot of travel.
Yeah.
No breaks. The bullpen's on fumes. You've got injuries anyway, and they kept battling. And I actually would argue they've played their best, fundamental baseball of the season in the last week. Defensively, they've really stepped up, which makes you pull your hair out because you're like, where was that earlier in the year when they were horrendous defensively?
And it was supposed to be the calling card.
And it was their calling card last year. I mean, they were great. They checked every box last year. But they were very, very sound fundamentally, and they for whatever reason lost it for the first 100 games this year. But they look like a team that at a minimum has not quit on the idea of this season just getting away from them. Again, that doesn't mean anything. If you go 2-5 this week, that can flip. It's fickle, and you're still on the wrong side of it because of the built-up sample size of you underperforming all season.
Right.
But Vladdy healthy, actually got some hits, actually hit a home run. 7th on the road this year.
How about that?
And this is a week. I heard Carlo and AK talking about it today. I can't remember which one bet he wouldn't hit a home run. But that's bizarre in and of itself that you have 7 straight home games, big home games against your division, teams he has eaten up in the past. Like his calling card has been destroying the Yankees and the Red Sox.
Yeah.
And it's safe to say I don't know if he's going to hit a home run this week.
Wow.
I'm not sure he's going to hit a home run.
Let's put it in perspective. That home run that he hit in Philly on Saturday was 1 home run in his past 20 games.
Yeah. Man, he was happy putting that jacket on, though.
Yeah.
He was walking through the dugout like a man on cloud 9.
I mean, he's a happy guy. Yeah. That's the one thing about Vladdy.
He plays happy when he's playing well.
You've seen him, obviously, he's frustrated after his many failures at the plate this year. But he's been happy for his teammates. He's been a real he's a clear cheerleader in that dugout, right? He's always happy for guys when they're succeeding. There haven't been a lot of that this year, obviously, but he's been, first up on the step, putting jackets on other guys all year, right? And so, you give him credit for a good attitude, if not good performance. But yeah, to have 1 home run in the past 20 games as he has, it doesn't exactly suggest a hot streak is coming. Although, hey, he was. What do you have? He's 3 hits in his past 2 games. So that's something. It's not nothing.
I mean, listen, Nathan Lucas is red hot right now. Ernie Clement has been consistently a very good hitter all season
and playing great in the field.
And he's really picked
better
it up.
lately.
He's really
after
performing
some struggles,
much better in the field. And They got some new blood in there. Some, you got Jamison Tyone on the mound tonight. Didn't go great his, debut. Let's see what he's got. Again, you got Sonny Gray and the Sox in town, the Red Sox and the Yankees. Sox have been out of this world good.
Yeah.
They're playing the way the Jays played last year.
Although they've been stumbling a little bit.
Well, and just like Philly was too,
Yeah.
right? And that's it. So, listen, if you can find a way, I think, they're never going to publicly say anything, and they'll just take a series. They would probably take 4-3 right now. But I think you got to get greedy this week. Like, you got to find a way. And I'm a little bit concerned. They haven't had a day off in a long time. A lot of travel. Their bullpen is taxed more than any other bullpen in the major leagues.
Yeah.
And these two teams are going to make you work. Like, they're going to push counts, and they're going to force starters to bring their A stuff. Savage is not around. Scherzer was really good over the weekend, which was a great story. But they're going to get taxed. And do they have enough to kind of grind out a 5-2 record this week? Their history would say no. But if they can, Monday's show next week is probably going to have a very different vibe.
Yeah.
Like a very different feeling to it.
Well,
So,
but let's-
little
like-
bit of
like-
optimism
like,
in the air.
let's-
Good for the
no,
Jays.
let's
Good
face-
for the Jays.
Good for the Jays. But I mean, let's face it, they got to do what the Red Sox did earlier.
Yeah,
they
they
got
gotta-
on one of those crazy streaks. Like,
I
the
agree.
only way you're really getting back into it is if you just win.
Yes, 7,
Like
8, 10 in a row.
2 out of 3 is not going to do it.
It's not going to, like, it likely won't for the rest of the season.
I don't think it's going to do
No,
it.
I think you're probably going to need better than that. And I agree. I think if they really want to recapture the fan base and the optimism, and I would argue the optimism within the clubhouse, it's got to be 7, 8, 9, something like that. Like, even a 6-1 week could do that. You win 7 straight, then you're really talking. But, the likelihood of that happening against Boston and New York is obviously slim, even if you're playing great. But Jays with another series win over the weekend. Again, Boston in town for 4, then the Yankees later in the weekend. All right, Luke Wilson coming up. And I guess the Bills unveiled their new stadium. And this is where social media really has changed the world, because everyone can be their own journalist, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure you saw a lot of clips of people walking around with their phones. And my sense of it was that there were a lot of people like kind of complaining already about sight lines. I saw one guy where, like, historically, you've been in there a bunch of times. You smack the seat in front of you, and it's loud in the old building.
Yep.
This guy was smacking. He's like, it makes no sound. I guess whatever they've made the seat out of, it's quiet. It's dulled the sounds of the stadium. Now, again, it's not full. It's not an AFC championship game with Patrick Mahomes, on the 2-yard line, and they're making noise.
Mm-hmm.
I think it'll be fine in the end. But it's a sign of just the realities of change. Like, there's always going to be people complaining. Why isn't there a roof? Why didn't we do this?
Yeah.
This sight line isn't great for me. It's just the way it goes wherever you happen to live and whatever stadium gets open.
Well, except for, when SoFi opened, I never heard anybody complaining. That was like, this place is the greatest stadium ever built. And it seems like that's what everybody says. I personally haven't stepped in there, but everybody I've talked to that's gone in there, and everything I've read and heard is that SoFi Stadium is the greatest.
I've heard the same. Yeah.
Greatest creation for a mass sporting event that's ever been designed, basically, and constructed.
The Coliseum of Coliseum.
Right. And so now,
you just weren't going to get that in Buffalo. Like, I guess it's a reality.
You weren't going to get.
You're not getting SoFi.
The greatest, but you want like really good for $2.2 billion.
Well, yes, you're right. And you want glowing reviews early. You don't want the complaints of, I'm in my seat and I can't see the end zone. That would seem to be an engineering conundrum.
Right.
Like there's an architecture issue there where someone was like, let's put a seat up here, and they can't see past the 30-yard line.
Right.
Like that, that's a reasonable gripe, if it's true.
You did see, there was some pretty compelling photos taken where it was like, I'm sitting in my seat and there is like a concrete abutment in front of me, and also like a glass railing, and like I can't see, 40% of the field.
Yeah. That's a bit of a problem.
That's a slight problem.
Yeah.
And I mean, look, I guess you get what you pay for because I think SoFi came in around $5 billion, right? It was the most expensive stadium ever built.
And that was years ago,
yeah,
too.
and so or something like that. I can't remember the exact number, but it was probably double what most stadiums cost, and maybe closer to triple. So it was like a no expense spare type of we are going to build the best of the best,
Yeah.
and everybody else will just be trailing us for years to come, right? So yeah, I mean, look, they've done. I still think, to your point, like they've done a lot of things right, like going to the natural grass. Start there.
And the players said it's brilliant.
Brilliant.
Like it's perfect.
That is a brilliant move.
Yes.
Because not only does it speak to, going back to the roots of the game and going back to the way the game was intended to be played, it speaks to prioritizing player health, right? The players, it really means a lot to the play. Yeah, there's some ugly views there.
Yeah. I mean, and again, I think unfortunately most stadiums, it kind of happens. There are just certain seats where you have obscured viewing if it's for whatever reason, the stanchions, whether it's I don't know, the sight lines can get out of whack. You would like to believe they would consider that, but I think I'm sure they feel very good about 99% of seats in there. And it's a brand new, I'm sure it's a gorgeous stadium. Obviously, I haven't been in there. I know there's been complaints about roof or no roof. I kind of like the fact that they stuck with it's Buffalo. That's an advantage. That's a lifestyle. We're used to it up here. And I don't think they were getting a Super Bowl anyway. I know they went to Detroit when they built when they got Ford Field.
Yeah.
They went to Indianapolis when they went to New York.
They would have got one if it was a dome.
I don't know if there's enough infrastructure in Buffalo.
Dude, Detroit.
Detroit was once a great, great city, though, Dave. Like Detroit has hotels and like
not that
Buffalo.
many. Not that many.
They got more than Buffalo. I guarantee you that.
They probably have more than Buffalo.
I don't know if Buffalo was ever getting a Super Bowl.
I was at the Super Bowl in Detroit, and you could not. There was nowhere to eat because even the crappiest restaurant was just jammed.
Yeah.
You could not get a reservation. You could not walk in and not wait an hour and a half. It was crazy.
Yeah. Detroit was a stretch.
It was
that was a stretch.
It was an absolute stretch, and
Indianapolis the same thing. Like Indianapolis is not. Like, that's not New York.
But Indy has, like, the tradition of hosting Final Fours.
Yes.
And they have, like, a convention.
And the Combine is there.
And they're the home of the NCAA, head office. They have a lot of stuff that goes there, right? That's big.
Mm-hmm.
So they've done big events many times, right?
That's the thing. Buffalo doesn't do big events.
No. Buffalo's done the, first round of the NCAA tournament, but not the Final
They've
Four.
done, like, an outdoor game.
Right.
But
right.
I don't.
No, I know what you're saying.
I'm just not convinced the NFL.
And I mean, it all comes down to money too. Like the roof would have cost another several $100 million, if not another billion. I don't know the exact number. Obviously, it depends what kind of roof you get and how nice the roof is. And
a lot of that is payback for like the government's paying for that roof, so the government's like, you're coming.
Right.
Like I think the way it kind of works. Like if you put a roof on and you pitch in another billion, we'll bring the Super Bowl there.
Right.
One time. I guess that was possible. I just don't know if it was.
You're probably.
I'm not convinced they were going to do that for Buffalo.
You're probably right. I mean, there's a very good chance they wouldn't. But
But Nashville, I think they're getting one in the future, right? They're going to build that new stadium, but Nashville's a bigger town, and it's just.
I mean, it's a hot town.
It's a hot town right now. It is absolutely. All right, Luke Wilson coming up. We got Dallas Braden on where the Jays currently stand. Max Scherzer moving up the list, all-time strikeouts as well. Where does he stand in terms of the modern, GOAT list? We'll catch up with Dallas and get his take on that and more. OverDrive continues, TSN 1050 and on TSN 4.
Now, back to Overdrive with Hayes, Noodles, and the O-Dog.
Yes, she's a 360 all the way around. Yeah, that's how she rolls. Can't believe I found her. Smart and funny, God made her sweeter than honey. So
All right, Overdrive continues, powered by FanDuel. Get to our best bets later this afternoon. It was the Hall of Fame weekend down in Canton, Ohio. See Adam Vinatieri just basically roasting people.
Stand-up routine.
Yeah, I thought it was great.
It was outstanding.
I have no problem with that. You know, if it's your Hall of Fame speech,
Yeah.
you do whatever you want. Some guys try to go really deep and heavy and tear jerky, and other guys try to be funny. Other guys, you know, are quick. Some guys are too long.
Some guys are bitter like Michael Jordan.
Yeah, exactly.
Sort of exacting old grudges.
Yeah, how dare you.
bringing up all his hatreds. And then you get Vinatieri, who was like a breath of fresh air. He was absolutely hilarious.
Just having a blast, taking shots at Belichick and McAfee and Peyton Manning.
Yeah.
And everyone was in his crosshairs.
That was great.
And it's great. You're a kicker going into the Hall of Fame. You know, like if you're going in as a kicker, you better stick out.
I mean, he's seeing how much money Pat McAfee's making cracks on a microphone, and he's like, I could do that. I'm pretty funny too.
I think he helped himself in that regard. I absolutely loved it, man. I got no problem with that. And you look at next year's class, we're going to get to it in a minute, but it's stacked.
Yeah, really
there's some
good.
big names, and there's some guys who didn't get in this year that I think most of us believe should be in or will get into the future. So it's going to be a constant conversation. Here's a guy who loves kickers. I guarantee you he loved Vinatieri's speech. Here's our main man, Luke Wilson, joining us back on Overdrive. Are you a fan? You're a Vinatieri guy, right, Luke? You got to be.
I mean, I'm not. I'm not a kicker guy. You know, so I mean, he's made some big kicks. He obviously is one of the best to ever do it. So, like, I'm not an anti-Vinatieri guy, but yeah, you know, I saw the jokes. He thought he did a nice job up there.
Yeah, I thought he did too. I got no problem with that. It's your gold jacket, man.
Hey,
like
man.
it's your moment. It's you do whatever you got to do. You want to roast, you can go ahead and roast. Anyway, it's good to have you on. And, you know, you look at, obviously, future Hall of Famers. I don't know if you saw the clip, Mike Sando of The Athletic was on a podcast talking about Josh Allen and saying that he's heard some rumblings that maybe there's issues, you know, I don't know if it's from teammates or the staff, that he's trying to kind of impose his will on Joe Brady a little bit. And, you know, he's calling protection plays, and he used to do that with McDermott, and the fear is he's going to do it even more, have even more power with Joe Brady as a head coach. I would consider that a formality. Like, you're the best player in the league, arguably. You're a quarterback. Of course you're going to have some power. Where do you stand on the idea that, you know, he might have even more say in the way things work, and is that a good or a bad thing in Buffalo?
Yeah, you got to kind of be there, Hayes, in the sense of it's hard to say it's good or bad. Like, I'll go back to a situation I thought was not great. You know, when we were in Seattle and Russ started to get a little more power and was kind of like meddling, Russ kind of wanted like our offensive identity to completely change. So I didn't think that was necessarily great when you have coaches that want things run a certain way, as far as like, let's hand the ball off to Marshawn, let's run wide zone, let's quick game and play action deep shots. Like, wasn't the most complex game. And like Russ's idea of, you know, taking control is like abandoning a lot of that. Where like you look at a guy like Peyton Manning, and his whole thing, like as he got later in his career, was like, I can call plays at the line of scrimmage, I can check, I can flip protections. So like the article is not very clear to me. I'm like, what exactly is Josh Allen allowed to do, or is he trying to do? Is he trying to kind of get up and adjust plays to the line of scrimmage based on pre-snap looks, or is he trying to nuke the entire identity of what they're doing? Like, that's where it gets a little convoluted for me.
Right, but Luke, I'm just wondering, like, if you, like as Hayes said, if you've got a guy who is a perennial MVP candidate, who obviously sees things out there, don't you want him sort of offering input to a head coach or an offensive coordinator in terms of how you are going to go about attacking this season?
Yeah, I mean, you absolutely want him input, but you got to think like a great offensive coordinator has a mind like a computer. So it's like, okay, we're not just calling plays, we're setting up plays. You know, you're calling stuff that in the third quarter you've got a little wrinkle that you think's going to work well. You're calling plays based on perspective. Headset the whole game, saying, okay, here are the adjustments. Not that your quarterback isn't understanding this, but he's on the field like he's not getting every little piece of minutia, you know, that the OC will get. So that's where it's like, hey, I really like this, and your offensive coordinator should 100% like take that into consideration and roll with it. But there's also a world where like the OC is like, hey man, our game plan is X, or if one guy's hurt, you know, we've got to transition. Like the OC to me, you know, unless your quarterback becomes that guy, meaning like a Peyton Manning style player, like the OC to me is like the artist of the whole thing. You want your quarterback to, you know, have that working relationship, but if it goes too far where like you're prepping to do one thing and he's on a different page, that's not always the most efficient way to move the football.
Yeah, I hear that. I mean, I feel like there's, you know, you used the Russell Wilson example, which you know literally firsthand, you were there. I look at Russ's capabilities, and I think there's a limit to that.
Right.
You know, like he can try to do things that I'm not sure he was capable of doing. Where if I think you use the Aaron Rodgers example, Rodgers famous for getting to a line of scrimmage and saying, nope, like not doing this, man. We're going this way. But he was capable of doing it. You know, it's like threading a needle, I guess is what I'm getting to, right, with Josh Allen. Like, and, you know, it's deeper than just what happens at the line of scrimmage on a big play at the end of the game. It's building up the game plan. It's executing it. Like you said, it's about planting plays where you can react to them or execute differently in the future. But I'm curious to see how it works with Joe Brady because, like, he is there literally for Josh Allen. Like, of all the power players in the league, Mahomes would be on the same level, but Andy Reid's got the clout. Like, Andy's Andy. Joe Brady, like, I guess what I'm getting to, Luke, is like you talk about power imbalance. Joe Brady to Josh Allen is probably as extreme as it gets in the sport.
I couldn't agree with that more, Hayes. Like you said it, Mahomes is obviously Patrick Mahomes, but Andy Reid is like, I would, you know, say that if you had a GM that could pick any offensive mind to lead their team this season, Andy Reid would be in everyone's top three and for a lot of people, number one. Mm-hmm. So, you know, and I don't think Joe Brady has, Joe Brady does not have that pedigree that Andy Reid has.
Right. You
know, I'm going back to all his time with the Eagles. I'm going back to his time with Brett Favre on the under Holmgren's staff. Like, this is football royalty in Andy Reid. So, yeah, I'm with you on that because if Josh Allen starts getting annoyed, Joe Brady is definitely expendable compared to some other coaches that are offensive gurus in this league.
With Luke Wilson, something to chew on brought to you by Boston Pizza, Canada's favorite sports bar. Enjoy $15 lunch at BP where you get an entree, a side, and a drink, and you get it all in 20 minutes or less. A fast lunch doesn't have to be fast food. See you for a $15 fast lunch at your local Boston Pizza. All right. In my opinion, and Dave, your opinion, I know I can speak for you on this, Bill Belichick should have been in the Hall of Fame this weekend. He wasn't, but he is still obviously capable of being on next year's ballot. He will be and could be in the Pro Football Hall of Fame in 2027. It happens to coincide with Rob Gronkowski's first year of eligibility. So we are asking people online, and we'll ask you, Luke, if you could only induct one into the Pro Football Hall of Fame, who would it be, Belichick or Gronk?
Belichick. And I'm not even, you guys know I'm not, first off, they both deserve to be there.
Yes.
And I'm not a big Belichick guy. Like, that's not, you know, I got one of his minions in Detroit, as you know, Hayes, Matt Patricia, that I'm not a I'm not a big fan of the Minions.
Right.
Okay?
I
But
got you.
you gotta give credit where credit's due, and you could sit there and play this game of like, oh, we had Brady, oh, we had this. Well, yeah, you could say with almost every Hall of Famer. You know, you could go down. If you want to play that game, you could say, well, Jerry Rice had Bill Walsh and Joe Montana, and then Steve Young. Like, that's not the facts are the facts here. Like, nobody has had the success that Bill Belichick has had in one organization. Okay, the numbers speak for themselves. Okay, I get that he had Tom, but I think there's an argument that Tom also had Bill, especially in those first 3 Super Bowls. You know, so I get why he wasn't voted in, because it's not a legitimate process. People have personal emotions. They come in, and Bill has never been kind to the media. He's been a bit greasy at times, whether it was Deflategate, whether it was Spygate, whether it was probably a slew of another 20 things that this guy's done. I don't know how Bill's moral compass is. I mean, I think you look at his personal life right now, it is what it is, but I don't think he's maybe the guy that all the writers would love to talk about. But that being said, like, none of that should matter. You know, this guy has clearly done enough to be a first ballot Hall of Famer and was not voted in due to personal reasons. So between that one, I got to still go with Bill. And not that Gronk has not had a Hall of Fame career. It's just like Bill is one of one when it comes to his situation.
And yet, Luke, you talk about, I mean, Gronk's just not another player, right? I mean, this is a guy who's in the conversation to be the greatest tight end of all time. I mean, he's got 4 Super Bowl rings. I mean, there's not a lot of guys that have a resume like Gronk. I mean, where do you rank him if you're in that conversation among Tony Gonzalez and Travis Kelce and Antonio Gates and Shannon Sharp and on down the list? I mean, where does Gronk rank for you on that tight end list?
Yeah, this is a tough one for me. I'll tell you, and I apologize about the cop-out, but to me, there's 2. I give my personal tight end awards in 3 different factions, if you will, 3 different categories. I think all-around tight end, meaning if you're including run blocking, Gronk is number 1 for me all time. I think that because of the crazy catches, because of the personality, because of the touchdowns that Gronk spikes, people forget that this guy could put his hand in the ground and was massive. He was a big guy. He blocked well. He did a lot in that offense. So Gronk, to me, as far as an all-around guy, is 1. As far as a peak season, like, you're talking 1 year, if I want a guy to go out and make 1 million plays, it's Jimmy Graham with Drew Brees.
Wow.
And it's not that close. Like the Jimmy Graham era, and I think I was listening to Kelsey talk about this with Drew Brees, like that was one of the most dominant quarterbacks, and statistically as well. But again, I'm talking not just peak. I'm not talking longevity. Him coming to Seattle, and I think Jimmy would be the first guy to tell you this really jammed his legacy up. And then as far as an all-time pass catcher, I think you have to put Kelsey there.
Mm-hmm.
There's my 3rd one. So, like, my categories are, like, all around, I go Gronk. Peak, I would go Jimmy Graham. And then, like, just pass-catching tight end, I think Travis, especially we'll see how this does, but, like, I'm a big longevity guy as well. And, like, some perspective, boys. Travis Kelce was drafted in the same year I was, 2 rounds in front of me. Okay, and he's still cooking.
Yeah.
So, you guys get what I'm saying here. It's like this guy, like, you want to talk about staying healthy, greatness, all those things, like Travis has consistently done it. So that would be kind of my big 3. I know it's controversial, but I mean, I think that's a solid
No, I
take.
think that's
How do you guys feel about
totally
that?
reasonable. Yeah, I mean, the Graham one is obviously outside the box thinking, because you'd have to go back and like literally look at his Football Reference page and say, wow, I can't believe that season. But like Kelsey's got the Sandlot ability too, right? Like broken down plays. That guy got his head up and found space and made serious plays.
Yes.
and big time plays in the playoffs. But Gronk too. I mean, that's the thing that, obviously it's not fair to Jimmy, but those two had so many like massive moments in like championship games and Super Bowls. And, you think of Kelsey against the Bills, you think of Gronk, like the amount of plays he made that were like mandatory for them to win.
They also both had two of the greatest quarterbacks of all time throwing them the ball.
And Drew Brees, who just went into the Hall of Fame, is
right.
possibly a top 10 QB of all time. So it is linked. Jerry Rice had Joe Montana and Steve Young throwing to him. That helps. But anyway, I want to ask you about a couple of CFL statements over the weekend. The Argos beating the Stamps in a shootout. It was a great game. And then the Alouettes at home against the Elks, and a lot of injuries, especially on the defensive side of things. In Montreal, I thought that was a pretty significant statement. I mean, I know we've been more focused on the West, and I believe you've been on record saying there's better teams out there. But is there a chance we could have a couple of heavy hitters in the East when all is said and done?
Yeah, Montreal is the best team in the league right now, and I think that's a pretty, accepted statement. Now, it's funny, early in the year, and I was talking with Coach Jason Moss about this. Like, he didn't say this, but I was kind of having a small combo where I'm like, I didn't even think they were playing that well due to their standard. Like, they were playing okay, they were playing well, but they were 5-1 at the time, I think, when we had this combo. And I'm watching the film, Hayes, and I'm like, these guys aren't even close to playing to their potential. I shouldn't say playing that well. Playing to that team's potential, and we've seen it the last couple of weeks. Sure, against Ottawa, you can say, okay, chalk one up, it's Ottawa. But, like, the game they just put together against Edmonton, Montreal, to me, if I were ranking midseason, they are number one. After that, Toronto is really a strange one for me because they honestly should have 2 losses. Mm-hmm. But they've kind of, found ways to lose games. And even in the Calgary game, it's 4 picks in a 3-point win. They have no business winning that game on a last-second field goal. They should have won that game by double digits. If you're in the CFL and you hold a opposing quarterback, I want to say it was 50% completion percentage and 150 yards, there's just no world where you shouldn't blow this team out of the water. So the turnovers have been killing them, but I do think they're the sleeper right now. So if I were to do my midseason rankings, I'd go Montreal 1, I'd go Saskatchewan 2, I would have Edmonton at 3, and then 4 for me would probably be Toronto. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I would probably put Toronto at 4 now, and then 5, 6, 7 get really greasy. I think 8, 9 are Ottawa and Hamilton. But 5, 6, 7 is Calgary, Winnipeg, BC, and you can kind of make the argument, I think, for all 3. I'd probably put Calgary out of that one. But I do think that Toronto, to me, is the 4th best team in the league at the moment.
I like it. All right, and they got the Elks in town this week, and then the Tabbies in town next week. So a couple more home games, and they're going to be stacked with home games down at BMO Field the rest of the way. All right, buddy, we're getting close to go time. Great stuff as always. We'll do it again soon.
Can't wait.
You got it. There he is, Luke Wilson, our TSN football analyst, wearing multiple helmets. Right, CFL, NFL. He's doing college stuff at times.
Love it.
Guys everywhere.
Yeah, the football talk is ramping up, man.
Yeah, it really happens quick, right? You get to the Hall of Fame weekend, and everyone's kind of together down there. And next year's class, we referenced Gronk is eligible to go in. Adrian Peterson, Richard Sherman, Ben Roethlisberger. Obviously, Belichick is still there. Eli's still there. Cam Newton's eligible.
Yeah, hell of a class.
Yeah, Whitworth's eligible too. There's a number of guys. Gerald McCoy.
Tough year to get in.
Players.
Tough year to get in.
Yeah, for me, Gronk is a lock, and Peterson and Sherman are locks, I think. For me, I mean, I like AP, Adrian Peterson, before he started having injury problems, his first 5-7 years in the league was the stuff of legend, how good he was. Yeah. It was absurd how good he was as a rookie. His first 2 or 3 years in the league, he was arguably the best player, period, in football, or close to it. Certainly the best back. I mean, his numbers were off the charts how good he was.
Yes.
So Gronk, AP, Sherman. I think I would put Roethlisberger in as the fourth of that group, that category. But maybe I'm putting too much emphasis on the quarterback position. And
You can't put too much.
that's the thing. He plays the position he plays, won multiple Super Bowls, plays for a legacy team. I know people don't love to hear that, but it counts.
It does.
It matters when you're a Steeler as opposed to a Cardinal. It just does. And he's got it.
Wow. How about next year? You still got Robert Kraft dangling out there.
Imagine Bob Kraft and Belichick going the same year.
Wouldn't that be something?
I think their speech, they'll mention each other.
I guarantee you Belichick would not say a word about Kraft.
Yeah, his speech would be so anticipated.
Yes.
Belichick, you referenced Jordan and some of the qualms he had with
Yes.
people. Belichick may just unload a clip on the whole league.
Wouldn't that be something if he did?
Yeah, just took like everyone.
Take
Like,
the commissioner down for
Commissioner, anyone
Yeah.
exactly. All the deflate gates and spy gates, you're going to listen to me for
Yeah.
the next 25 minutes.
That's right.
Tune up your hearing aid.
I am the greatest.
I'm the greatest of all time. All right, Dallas Braden in about 15 minutes. Overdrive continues up on YouTube Live.
Back to Overdrive with Hayes, Noodles, and the O-Dog.
All right, Dallas Braden in about 10 minutes. Jays, Red Sox tonight, 4-game series. Then the Yankees are in town. Big week down at the Dome. Big week if you're trying to keep optimism alive. Mandatory that they win at least 4 games. Mandatory. And you really want them to come alive. They gotta catch a heater here. Take 3 from Boston, 2 from the Yankees, 5-2, and you're possibly feeling more optimistic a week from now. Again, they got to prove it, and their track record would not suggest anyone should be holding their breath on this. But they have been playing much better lately, and they got to find a spark. You got 43 games left.
Yeah, they gotta surprise you. They got to start looking like a different team.
Mm-hmm.
They got to start playing with a different spirit,
Which has happened a couple times recently, like pushing it to extra innings, actually winning in extra innings. Yesterday was obviously a bummer, but they had an opportunity.
Well, yeah, after Lucas made that play, you're thinking, man, they're going to win this.
Absolutely. And if they won that and swept Philly, you're like, okay, now, like, what's going on here? I know you're holding on for dear life at this point in terms of just searching for any sense of optimism. But based on what they did a year ago, if they didn't have that from a year ago, no one would be of this mind today.
You're right.
Like, if they won 70 games last year, you're like, you guys stink. Just get out of the way.
Like,
you're bothering
yeah,
people.
stop pretending there'd be calls for the heads of various management people and the manager and
Totally different.
Yeah.
So we'll get to Dallas on that and more still to come. Carlo with a comment on the morning show about his anecdotal experience among Leaf fans recently. I want to touch on that too. Get your take on it. Get to that into hour 2. Overdrive continues. TSN 1050 and up on TSN 4.
This is OverDrive with Hayes, Noodles, and the O-Dog on TSN 1050.
Hour 2 OverDrive continues, powered by FanDuel. Little Rush to bring us in. It's great to see that they're back in action, right, Dave? A lot of buzz about Rush. 4 shows, man. That's great. Love to see that.
Playing a lot of shows.
Yeah. That's it, man. They travel. Like, Rush fans travel. That'd be a great list, actually, because, like, historically, you think of, I do anyway, Deadheads are number 1. Doesn't mean there were more Grateful Dead fans than there are Rush fans or Fish fans or whatever else. Dave Matthews has always had like pilgrims that have kind of followed him around wherever he plays. And obviously every big band does.
For sure.
But it seems like Rush fans want to let you know that they have seen Rush 78 times in 5 different continents. Like, they want to stop you and tell you that.
How many times they've seen Rush.
Like, no, you don't understand.
Yeah.
I've seen, it's like, awesome, good for you. That's great stuff. No, you're not listening. I've seen them 68 times.
Oh, yeah.
Awesome. That's great stuff. Good for you. You're a big fan. That's great. Like, no one does that with, like, I've been to the Leaf game 68
Yeah,
times.
I've been to 300 Leaf games.
Yeah, no one else does that.
No one does that.
But, like, Rush fans in particular, I find, among other
Springsteen fans are big on the count.
Springsteen fans are big on account. You're right.
Yeah.
You're right about that. That's a big one. But, yeah. What's that, Doogie? What do you got? Yeah, Kiss definitely back in the day was 100% high on that list.
For sure. They were a real show.
They were a
pyrotechnics and blood and
then
makeup.
out of nowhere they said, like, we're not doing the makeup anymore.
Yeah.
It freaked everyone out.
For sure.
Like, you guys, what are you doing here? You're not good enough.
I mean,
you got to have the makeup on.
And, you know, with Rush, it's kind of not unique because there's lots of bands that tour when they lose members. But, you know, to have this tour after the passing of Neil Peart and to have Annika Niles, who from the social media clips that I've seen, looks like she's an incredible force back there playing drums.
That's tough. And a 3-man band where Neil Peart wrote a lot of their stuff, too, right? Like, he was like a guy driving the lyrics.
Pretty much all the lyrics,
songs, too.
Yeah.
He was phenomenal, 3-man band, and it's great to see it.
It's pretty cool. They sound really good.
Geddy Lee still rocking down there. It's awesome.
I mean, Geddy Lee missing a lot of Jays games, and not a bad year to be on the road.
That's true. And I mean, he probably won't. He obviously won't be sneaking in there tonight, but he'll be keeping an eye on it. And I guess Okamoto's out of the lineup with a contusion issue. So I hope this isn't like what they just went through with Trey Savage. Remember, it was inflammation.
Right.
And the next day, it's a meniscus problem. We're going to really get this checked out. Like, there's a pretty big difference between inflammation, contusion, and this guy may have torn something. I'm not saying that's happened with Okamoto. I'm just saying my guard gets up a little bit with the Blue Jays in particular.
Yeah.
Among the other teams that play in Toronto when it comes to injury news. They're never forthright with anything.
Right. Like, how many times have we seen the Austin Matthews? He's day to day, which turns into month to month, right? And that's pretty big difference between a day and a month, but okay.
Pretty significant. Yeah.
Whatever.
Pretty significant. I wonder if that'll carry over with the Leafs. Like, now that it's a different regime, now that Shanahan, like, the whole Shanahan era basically has gone short of a couple of trainers, Matthews, Nylander, Tavares, Riley. I guess there's a couple other players.
I mean, there's a few guys.
But yeah, I guess so. But in terms of, like, the staff, management, scouting, you know, they're pretty far removed from that. And, you know, Berube always told the line, and I believe that was Tree Living who told him, don't say anything. Just go out there and say, yeah, he's feeling good. Could be any day now. Is that going to continue with Jim Hiller and John Chaika? I would guess it does.
Yeah.
I would guess just the nature of the sport and this general fear within Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment of, like, the market running with information, that it's probably not going to change as much as you think. I hope I'm wrong on that, but I'm not holding my breath.
Now, for whatever reason, the NHL is probably the least concerned, or they appear to be the least concerned with injury-related transparency in an age where sports gambling's prolific. And, you know, we know the NFL has very strict protocols on injury reporting. The NBA has made their protocols a lot stricter and penalized teams when they sort of play fast and loose with those things. But yeah, the NHL just seems like, whatever.
Go ahead.
You know?
Yeah, just say game time decision, even though he's he's not playing or he is playing. And same thing with goaltending. Find out when we get to the game.
Yeah.
Really? You can't tell us at 11:30 who's starting tonight? Like how would that ever change anyone's life?
That's just that's the question.
It's
like,
just bizarre. Like, it's not that deep.
It really isn't, and it just becomes this sort of thing where it almost, you get the sense a lot of times it's an ego play, right? I know, but I'm not going to tell you,
right?
And that's to me, that's a problem when you've got a very small amount of people that actually have the information. That's where you get gambling issues.
Well, that's true, and on the reality is the lens of gambling, applies to every sport now.
Yeah.
And you're in bed with every company, and it's incredibly lucrative. There's a lot of money on the line. And, stuff like that can be changed. It's very easy to fix. Like, I've had these conversations, many times in the past about whether it's replay and review and rule changes, details like this, making announcements on who's starting in net, whatever it happens to be. The coaches and the GMs work for the owners. If the owners determine collectively this is what's happening, then that is what is going to happen. Like, there's always been this sense like, the coaches, they're not going to give that up. They don't have a choice.
You're right.
They're employed.
Yeah.
So when the board of governors say, guess what, you have to announce your goalie by noon every day, guess what they're going to do? They're going to announce it.
Yeah.
They're not going to lose their jobs over that.
Of course.
So if you give them power, they'll take it. Of course. Right. They maybe shouldn't, and not everyone does. But if you take it away from them, guess what happens? They fall in line.
Exactly.
Like, so I don't even blame the coaches. I blame the owners. It's your league. Commissioner, run it. Just tell them you got to announce the goal, whoever's starting by 12 noon, whatever. And they're all going to do it.
It would make a lot of sense.
Yeah. I don't see why that is so hard to wrap anyone's head around. Anyway, Jays, Red Sox tonight. 7 big games down at the Dome this week. Sox for 4, Yankees for 3. The Jays statistically are alive. It's a high mountain to climb here. We're generally fairly optimistic. I think our next guest is a very optimistic guy. So we're going to put him on the spot, banking on some optimism here. Former MLB pitcher, host of Baseball is Dead podcast, joining us here on the Maple Toyota Hotline. There's our main man, Dallas Braden. Dallas, give us some optimism here, man. The Jays, I know they got to jump 6 teams. I know there's only 43 games left. I know they're dealing with injuries. What are the chances they can at least make it interesting the rest of the way?
Well, let's start with what you started with. How many games do you got against the Sox? 4 to start this series?
Yeah.
Where do you sit? You're 3.5. You're 3.5 out of the wild card right now. So within a series, boys, things could look very, very different for you. And I think that's a heavy dose of optimism considering what the Boston Red Sox have just done. Now, it was my green and gold, my Athletics, who brought their series run to an end, stopped them from winning what was going to be 10 games in a row. But that's not to say that they can't pick up and start another run, because that's exactly what the Red Sox have done, is they have been world beaters. All that to say this. Sure, you guys have had some faces that left town, but you brought in a pretty good arm in Soriano. And in terms of more optimism on the mound, who's to say that Taillon's not able to get things together? Now, a bit of a bumpy start his last time out, and I understand that it's probably more about being able to account for innings at this point. All that to say, has it been a little left to be desired offensively for the Jays this year? No question about it. You'd like to have seen more from Vlad. I don't think anybody flying the maple leaf thought that George Springer was going to repeat what he did last year. I mean, darn near a career year in a lot of different ways for the elder statesman. So I think when you try to enter the fray with any sort of optimism, that's what I always think about, is we have watched multiple teams this year go on great runs. There's nothing to say that your team, too, can't figure out how to win multiple ball games in a row at an important time and sitting just 3.5 out of the wild card. If I'm being honest, boys, just between us, that's about all the optimism I can provide right now.
You're not alone, man. I know. Listen, they've been baking the cake all year, right? They've played a lot of games. They haven't been able to hit. They haven't been clutch. They've been taxing their bullpen more than any other bullpen in Major League Baseball. Defensively, they've performed poorly. Like, they deserve the record they have. They have earned the record they've had. They have not been very good. And now you got injury issues. Okamoto's out tonight. Your Savage might be done for the season. It's a climb because they've earned the climb, but fundamentally they have played better recently. And I don't know if you can point to anything in particular. Is it getting past the trade deadline? Is it finally acknowledging, like, hey, boys, we've been pretty sloppy and we got to snap out of it? Like, what would small sample size, but the last 10 to 12 games, they have played their best baseball.
And I think it's a combination of having that come to Jesus moment, right? We are past the deadline. As you look around to your left and right in the room, this is exactly who is going to help us get to where we want to be. There's nobody else coming for help. All right. And I think you need to quit looking for the help. And I think a conversation that has permeated through the A's clubhouse is probably one of similar status, which is we got to play with some pride here. At the end of it, we can look up towards the end of September, and if we're able to put together diligent, fundamental baseball day in and day out, and we're able to go about our business the way we think we should be able to, then we can look up in September, and I think you'll like where you're at, comparatively speaking, to where you have ended up until this point. So I think just being able to hold the next guy accountable to you and being able to feed off of each other, that's really all you can ask for right now, because it's not like you're going to turn into a juggernaut that you haven't been all season long. It's not like you're going to start rolling out a rotation full of Cy Young candidates that just haven't been there. And to the point about potentially losing Yasevich, that's the whole idea of nobody else is coming to help. So it's going to get done. It's going to get done with these guys in the room right now. And one of my favorite sayings is hold the rope. And the idea is if you've got 25 guys on this roster on one side of the cliff holding on to the rope, any given day, that 26th man sitting on top of the cliff, he's got to be willing to hold the rope until his hands bleed, until they burn, until they're ready to get ripped off if this club is going to go in the direction that they want to go. Because I just go back to being within striking distance. That's one thing I always try to maintain when I'm being serious for a minute about the optimism is 4 games. I cap it at 4 because if you have a 4-game set against a team that could very well dictate your future, that means you can dictate your future. And that's where the Jays sit right now, albeit against some very stiff competition.
Dallas, when you look big picture at this Red Sox team, I mean, there's probably no sport that minimizes the manager, the head coach, whatever you want to call it, comparing to the other sports as much as baseball does, right? We get the sense sometimes the managers aren't even running things. It's the guys with the spreadsheets who make most of the decisions now. And yet, in the case of the Red Sox, they're 10-17 when they fire Alex Cora and a handful of coaches, and they've been lights out ever since. I mean, how much of are you a believer that just changing that mix in terms of the manager and some key coaches has been responsible for what's happened to the Red Sox?
I tell you right now, boys, if you and I went over to Japan, tried to get on a subway and tried to figure things out, us together, collectively, I don't know if you speak Japanese, but it'd be pretty tough for us to figure out which way we were going, right? We could look at some pictures, and it might take us a while to figure out the pictures. You'd like to think we could get to where we were going, but what if? Now stay with me here. What if we had a translator? What if we had someone that spoke the language? What if we had somebody that was actually familiar with what the heck we're trying to figure out and what's going on, has been there, and has that comfortability, has that familiarity? Well, I bet we get on the first train we need to, and we get right to where we wanted to go from the beginning. And I think that's what Chad Tracy has represented, is somebody who can translate what is being said or what is being asked to be achieved from the top down through him and his staff and through the clubhouse. Because sometimes all you need is a calming, steady presence outside of maybe feeling like there's been pressure and there's been expectations and maybe not quite the communication that has bred positivity and has bred the energy that you'd like to see from a young group who's trying to figure things out. And I think that's what the Red Sox, frankly, have benefited from, is the calming presence and the familiarity that Chad Tracy has brought to the table. Because this is a guy who knew who these kids were as they were coming up through the system, was familiar with them. Now they're here in the big leagues. And I think he and Craig Breslow have a great relationship. I just spent the weekend in Boston. I spent about 45 minutes catching up with my old teammate, Craig Breslow, and got a really good pulse of why things have gone the way they have, why he believes the team has started to trend the way they have. And I think a lot of it has to do with the respect that these players have for Chad Tracy, because I understand what you mean by almost minimizing the impact of a manager. But if it's that guy who writes the lineup out in conjunction with the information he's getting from the analytics team, and it's that guy who is steadily sending the positive messages that has this group all pulling on the same end of the rope together. It's 26 guys on the top of the cliff. Nobody's dangling on the side. I think that's what you have seen with the Red Sox. Not to mention they have one of the best bullpens in baseball. They've got some absolute studs. I mean, if you're talking about getting Garrett Crochet back, you're running out a guy in Jake Bennett, 6'6", 240 pounds. Peyton Tolley, 6'6", 250-plus pounds. Garrett Crochet, a behemoth of a man, 6'6", 250-plus pounds of left-handed monstrosities, on top of what Sonny Gray, the boy wonder, I think, has continued to do. Even in his aging twilight, has been outstanding. So I think the Red Sox, from a collective pitching standpoint, have pitched their way into the situation they're in. And I think a lot of it has had to do with Chad Tracy and the message that he's been able to send not only to the lineup, but the staff, starter, and reliever likewise.
With Dallas Braden, over the weekend, Max Scherzer, he turned back the clocks. Like he looked good. He's competitive, but he had ace stuff. He was striking out guys left, right, and center. Actually moved into top 10 all time in strikeouts, passing Walter Johnson.
Wow,
which is wild. He's up to 3,516. That's a big move, man. And we were discussing it earlier, like of the modern studs. The Scherzers, the Verlanders, the Kershaws. Maybe you throw DeGrom into that. Chris Sale possibly into that. Maybe Scooble's in that. Like, where would Scherzer rank for you in the last 15 years? Like, best of the best. Where is he on your list?
Oh, I think he's top 5 in there, no doubt. And I think I tweeted this the other day, actually. Max Scherzer, in my opinion, and my humble opinion, is probably the poster child for living up to / surpassing expectations that have come along with signing the mega contract. I think he was one of the first guys. You're talking about a guy who was a Cy Young winner, a World Series champion, a perennial all-star. We're talking about a dude who finished, top 10 in MVP conversations. This is a guy who has been absolutely lights out more times than he has not. This is a guy, and you want to talk about just quirkiness. This is a guy who, battling thumb injury, was like, you know what, maybe I'll do my best Chopin. Maybe I'll do my best Beethoven, and I'll figure out the piano, and that'll help me. Like, just his desire to get better, even at the age that he's at, and the competitive nature, the impact that he's had on his teammates, those are all things that I don't know that necessarily show up on the back of the baseball card, because there's not much room on the back of Max Scherzer's baseball card at this point in time. He's done just about everything you could want to have a pitcher do. So I think in terms of the pantheon of all-time greats, I do. I think about Verlander. I think about Kershaw. I think about Max Scherzer. These are guys that I got to play against and watch perform from the other side of the dugout. I remember, I'll tell you a funny story. I remember sitting in Sacramento during a rehab start for myself, and the Diamondbacks brought out this guy who was also on a rehab start, Max Scherzer. And I believe he punched out, what was it? I think it was 11 in 4 innings. And I remember thinking to myself, oh my God. Like, I'm never got what? How am I going to stay in the big leagues? Like, I gotten a sniff. How am I going to stay in the big leagues? This is what happens in the big leagues? Good luck, buddy. I might as well steal the popcorn tray, because that's what I'm going to be doing. If I'm going to be performing in a ballpark, it's going to be as a popcorn vendor. If this is the kind of stuff that I got to compete with. So, Max Scherzer is at or near the top of that list, and without a doubt in that conversation when we talk about all-time greats.
Well, you talk about Scherzer living up to the mega contract, Dallas. Obviously, there's a lot of talk about what has ailed Vladdy here in Toronto. Now, he's had 3 hits in his past 2 games. He hit a home run on the weekend, albeit that's 1 home run in his past 20 games. But when you look at the way he's gone from being the clutchest of the clutch in the playoffs last year with 8 home runs in 18 playoff games to what he's doing this year, how much do you think the money kicking in, the $500 million kicking in, could have something to do with it?
There's always pressure. Anytime you become the face of, I think there's a layer and a level of expectation that only a small amount of the population, not only in baseball, but the world, can really understand and feel. When you are the tip of the spear, when you are the spear in general, that is a level of responsibility that at times is very difficult to wrap your head around. And when you don't necessarily have other individuals who have experienced that, you can probably at times feel like you're on an island. And I think for Vlad, that's absolutely had to have had an impact, because he wants nothing more than to make his country proud, make the country of Canada proud. he wants to bring a World Series championship to Toronto, no question about it. And I think when you factor in who he is as an individual player and the expectation he has for himself, and we're talking about a guy, 6-time All-Star, right? Gold Glover, Silver Slugger 2 times over, I believe. He's done a lot in this game already, and he's all of 26, 27 years old. So when you hand a guy that kind of money, especially with Vlad, with the things he's already done, you can understand why, number one, he probably feels good and comfortable about what he's capable of, but then there comes the pressure. And if you haven't performed up to the expectation, not only of yourself, but I think of the baseball world, then you really start to feel the weight of that. I mean, one of the crazier statistics going in this year of baseball, I believe, has got to be the fact that he is still, and correct me if I'm wrong, still yet to homer at home.
Yeah.
That's right.
That's a fact. Like, he's got 7, and these are 2 teams, again, throughout his career, he has enjoyed playing against, Boston and New York. Like, he loves Yankee Stadium, he loves Fenway, but, like, it's a legitimate conversation we had an hour ago, Dallas, that he's got 7 home games, he's healthy, and will he hit a home run? Which is absurd and probably a defining reason for why they're in the position they're in right now. If
I don't think there's any question about that.
It's got to be, right? Like, it's the number one reason. If Vladdy is performing to expectation, they're probably a game out of the wild card.
Yep.
If he's exceeding it, they're probably tied for the wild card spot. Like, he may be worth that much. He should be a 5-win player right now, based on contracts and talent, et cetera. He's a 1-win player right now.
Yeah, and I think, look, for all the excitement that I think Okamoto brought to the table early on, I think what you got from George Springer last season and what you're not getting this year, it's almost disingenuous to think about putting any sort of, responsibility on George Springer, saying that if he would be better, of course, if he would be better than he is right now, the team would probably be performing better. But I just don't know that anybody on planet Earth expected George Springer to post the campaign he did last year. And that was a major, major reason why the Jays were in the position they were in, why they were battling for supremacy of the sport at the end of it all. So I think you can look up and down this lineup and realize that there were some key contributors that just have not quite been those contributors up until this point. And I think when we watch young teams collectively get better and surprise folks and arrive a little early, I think the same can be said for teams that have performed well collectively and then collectively regressed, and you wonder why they haven't showed up. And I think that's where the Jays are at right now.
Absolutely. Great stuff, Dallas. Always appreciate you doing this, buddy. We'll do it again soon.
No problem. Have a good one, boys. Good luck this series.
You got it. Thank you. There's Dallas Braden, former MLB pitcher himself, host of the Baseball is Dead podcast, joining us here on the Maple Toyota Hotline. It's time to Toyota. Check out the Toyota Tacoma and Toyota Tundra pickup trucks, both available as hybrids. Maple Toyota near Canada's Wonderland in the Maple Auto Mall. Jays Red Sox tonight, I guess. It's a big night, right? Joe Carter, the statue.
Yeah.
It's not a bobblehead.
It's a replica statue.
It's a replica statue, 15,000, which no one has ever given me the answer as to why, if you know 40,000 people are coming tonight, why can't you make 40,000 of those?
Good question.
Like, I don't really understand why you can't make more than that, because it's standard across baseball. In my understanding, every team does the same thing.
Right.
Got to get there early. Only 15,000.
Hey, man.
Which means people are walking around and they're like, I didn't get one of these things.
Right.
I got a ticket to the game.
Dude, I was just looking on eBay. They're already selling on eBay these replica Joe Carter statues for like $200.
Crazy.
And no one's got one yet.
It's not even in the hands of anybody.
Yeah. Or they're just starting to get, they're going to get one in about an hour, I
People
guess.
have been lining up for hours, literally hours, to get a Joe Carter replica statue. And the statue is great. Like, I was down there last week. It's really cool. The back-to-back rosters are up there. All the names are commemorated. It looks great. Perfect. It's exactly what should be there.
I agree.
Like, it should have been there probably 25 years ago.
Yeah.
But that's neither here nor there. It's there for the rest of time now. And, we've had the statue conversations. What is next in the city? There isn't one. Like, you're not putting the Bautista bat flip for a wild card moment as a statue. That's not how. George Springer, Game 7, ALCS, not statue worthy.
No.
They won the World Series. That would have been interesting, actually. What would have been this? In a crazy world, This is uncalled for because it's just going to rip up wounds that are slowly starting to heal. In a separate universe, the next statue is Jeff Hoffman celebrating on the mound, jumping into the arms of Alejandro Kirk. That's the statue that would be there. Like 15 years from now, Jeff Hoffman would be back in town with the 2025 team. And everyone would be out there and say, we're unveiling the statue.
That's right.
And it would be Hoffman in the air with his arm in the air into the hands and arms of Alejandro Kirk. That would be the statue until Miguel Rojas stepped up to the plate and decided there will not be a statue. There's no statue. No statue for you. Isn't that bizarre, though? Like, when you consider his rep and the vibe, and now he's gone, he's moved on, he's out. I think that was it, because I don't think you'd put, like, Bichette's home run was in the third inning, I think.
That's right.
Like, you're not putting a statue together for a third inning moment. You're not doing that.
No, instead, the Dodgers had a bobblehead of that Pages-Kiki Hernandez collision where Pages made the game-saving catch. And, that thing was going for real money on eBay, too.
Which is fascinating because between Rojas, Will Smith hit the winner.
That's right.
In the 11th. Yet he's like third on the list.
The defining moment is the catch.
The defining moment is the catch to save the game.
Yeah.
And Rojas tying a game.
Yes.
Like, those are the two defining moments. And then I'd say the play at the plate with IKF.
That's
right. That might be third.
IKF with a short leadoff and
the play at the plate might be, and then even just that ends with a double play. Like, that's a moment in time. I don't know. Crazy. Some guy hit a World Series winning home run, and it's like fifth on the list.
It's so true. It was just such a crazy game.
Yeah, it really was.
It's just such a crazy game, and the ball. It's just, when you think about all the plays, it might go like market. Forget the market. Forget that we're in Toronto. Like, I've heard people with no connection to Toronto say that's the greatest game in terms of the stakes and just the craziness of it and the drama of it that they've ever seen.
The whole series was incredible.
Yeah.
Like, it was, obviously I'm not objective because I was there and we all were there and living it, and it's our town. But like the Yamamoto performances, like that alone, the guy pitched 3 times. He's a starter.
Incredible.
Like, we came in Game 7. It's like, how is this guy's arm still intact?
I know.
He pitched last night, a gem. How is he doing this? It was what was it, 18 inning game? Yeah, I think it was 18 inning game.
We all stayed up.
That was, but maybe it was 15 innings.
Whatever it was.
It's blurring, but it was
the
game
thing
3.
is a blur.
So Ohtani on a mound.
You almost have to go over it and remember the details, because when you live it, you forget so many of the details.
Exactly. Game 5, Sanchez and Vladdy back-to-back home runs to start the game.
Imagine that.
Like that's a World Series game. Like the first 2 of the first 3 pitches gone. Crazy.
So much fun.
Jeff Hoffman jumping into the arms of Alejandro Kirk. That would have been a statue.
Could have been.
In about 10 years from now. Come on back, Jeff. Come on back, Alejandro. Everyone gather around. Vladdy's still playing, right? He comes out and catches the first pitch from Jeff Hoffman.
Wouldn't that have been something?
Gives him a hug. Vladdy's 38 years old, and
I think that's the bar for the statue. You got to win the championship.
You've got to win.
It's got to be a win.
Yeah, it's mandatory.
So for the Raptors, they've got a championship that they haven't commemorated with the statue, and
maybe it could be Kawhi planting a tree. Imagine Kawhi with just throwing seeds on the ground with a little.
That's right. That's right.
Watering can. Bring him back, man.
God,
no more update. I'm waiting for the next Pablo Torre to drop.
Oh my God.
No updates on Kawhi.
No updates on Kawhi, except that everybody seems to expect that it's all going to be okay and he'll play for the Raptors this year.
I know. I want to believe in that. And I'm not saying that those that are reporting it aren't well-sourced and very reputable. They are. I don't know. I mean, it's just until you see it.
Yeah. I mean,
I think he'll be a Raptor, but will he be suspended? I wouldn't be surprised. And if he's suspended, for how long? Can they survive without him? I think they can. But I think there's hope that, you got to hit the ground running, man. The team he joined in 19, that was a veteran team. This team's going to win because of Scotty and Colin Murray-Boyles and just Jacoby Walter take another step. And
right. They're already one of the best defensive teams in the league.
And they're young.
Kawhi or not.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, can you execute big game moments in big game times? Yeah. That's why he's here.
Exactly.
You know,
Exactly. He's a bucket getter who can get to a spot with the best of them if he's healthy, and they don't have that right now.
no.
And if he is here, you're right. But, I was talking to an NBA coach the other day, and it was like, if they suspend him like 25 games, it's almost a bonus for the Raptors. Like, he loses money, and he'll be ticked about that, and the union will be outraged, and they'll grieve it. But, like, this guy just being, sorry, you can't start the season until, Christmas. Would that really hurt the Raptors?
If he can be around,
Yeah.
and I don't know what the ruling is on that. Is he allowed to practice with the team? Is he, and if that,
Well, suspensions generally
That
just
you
means
can.
you can do everything except play.
yeah,
I mean, unless they just tailor it specific. Like the idea is the only way you can really punish Ballmer, the owner, because he's the richest guy in the NBA. There's no amount of money that would hurt his pocketbook, and
that's reasonable. They're not going to,
Yeah.
It's not going to be $100 billion.
and there's no CBA mechanism to fine him that much.
Yeah.
There's no way they can do it. The only way to really hurt him is to say you can't be around. You got to just take a year off. Like, you can't be in the arena, you can't be in the practice facility, you can't be in the office. You got to take a year away from your team. You're lucky we're not kicking you out of the league.
Yeah.
For making a mockery of the salary cap.
Yep. I think that feels like it is going to happen and should happen. I think at a
It
minimum.
has to
It has to
happen.
happen.
You can't just-
and you got to clip them picks.
Oh, of course,
That's
yeah.
another thing.
All that
You've
stuff.
got to take 2 or 3 first-round picks away from them, penalize them, and there will be a dollar amount to it. It'll be ridiculous. It'll be a lot of money. Might be $100 million or something like that.
Yeah.
But again, the Ballmer, it's like, go find my jeans and you take that.
That's
cash.
right. It just
Like,
doesn't matter to him.
makes
I mean,
nothing. Yeah.
hundreds of billions of dollars in net worth, and millions don't matter.
Yeah, that's been his reality for a long time. Okay, best bets coming up. Carlo on the morning show talking about people buzzing about the Leafs. Dave, are you and I having the same type of interactions? We'll get into that and more still to come. OverDrive continues up on YouTube Live.
MasterChef Global Gauntlet. Let's go! 4 territories represented.
An all-new MasterChef Global Gauntlet. Wednesday on CTV. Stream next day on Crave.
Now, back to OverDrive with Hayes, Noodles, and the O-Dog.
Best Bet's coming up later in the hour. So I was listening to the morning guys today. I was dropping my kids off 2 different camps, Dave. I got to go to 2 separate camps.
Wow.
Yeah. I don't know how it got to that point. I don't have much say in it. It was basically, this is what's happening, and you're driving them. And I said, all right, I'll be there. Sounds good. But 2 different camps. So I was on the road a lot. I was listening to the guys shamelessly try to get free stuff. I know what they were doing this morning, talking about certain establishments, and they're not wrong in any of it in terms of what they were promoting, but
yes.
They were on to a few things this morning. Anyway, Carlo was talking about the excitement around Leafs Nation and how when he's talking to people, people are buzzing. And I have not quite had the same anecdotal experience myself. I still find it's more about the Jays. Like if I'm talking Toronto sports right now, Kawhi, what's going to happen on that front. But I understand, why there would be excitement for this upcoming season because you brought in, I think, I would argue 3 needle movers for sure, maybe a 4th if you include the coach. Now, the interaction between a fan and the coach, I don't know. Like no one's buying tickets to go see Jim Hiller coach, but the hope is different system. The Berube style last year was not exactly the greatest entertainment value.
Pretty stale.
Yeah, and I think people were – there's always a level of optimism and excitement. Okay, new coach, new system, new world. Let's see what he brings. But between McKenna, Radish, and Bobrovsky, those are 3 big, needle-moving acquisitions.
Yes.
That do have me excited, and I can understand why a lot of people would be buzzing about it. On August 10th, I don't know, maybe. September 10th, 100%. And when the Leafs roll through town, those 3 guys in particular are going to create a buzz. I think unlike we've seen probably since Matthews, Marner, and Nylander all showed up together.
Mm-hmm.
Where it was like every offseason there was someone new. Like Shanahan's here, then Babcock's here, then Matthews is showing up with all the guys. And there's been obviously big signings. Tavares, when he signed, that was very significant. When Marlowe was acquired, when Joe Thornton was showing up. But in terms of a collection of players, all of them have the potential to have a big impact on this season and the marketplace over at least the next 3 years. I would argue this is probably the biggest bundle that I can recall in a long time.
Yeah, I think that's correct. I mean, there were some trade deadline moments where they, Kyle Dubas went all in, and the Ryan O'Reilly year, that was pretty big, where it felt like those are the game-changing guys, and they did win a series that year, right, for the first time, and that was important. But I think you're right. I think because all 3 of these guys kind of address a specific need that everybody had been moaning about the entire season, right, last year. Gavin McKenna addresses the fact that they don't have any young guys, and now they do. Now they got a number 1 overall pick, a guy who'll probably be in the Calder Trophy race. Bobrovsky addresses the fact they don't have a durable goalie. This guy's been super durable, if nothing else. On top of excellent at times, winning 2 Stanley Cups and a couple of Vezinas. But he's been a 50-game starter lock for the past 5 seasons, right? And if you could look through his career, there's been very few years where he hasn't met that standard. And they haven't had anything close to a 50-game starter since back to the Freddie Anderson days, right? And then Radish addresses the fact that the D-core needed some reworking, no doubt about it. Now, the other part of the reworking is going to be a healthy Chris Tanev because they're going to need that badly.
Big time.
And that's probably the other, potential buzz-inducing development. If Tanev shows up and looks like the Chris Tanev that they want and need to be their rock
of
a defenseman, that's going to change things.
Yeah.
So those 3 things, and then Tanev being healthy, I think would be reason for buzz.
Yeah. Oh, I'm all in on that buzz for sure. I think whether it doesn't guarantee or translate to success, which I think is different from the previous acquisitions, Tavares most notably, because they were a really good team at that point. There was so much optimism at that point with the young guys, and again, Babcock was still well-renowned here at that point. And then you add Tavares, it's like, okay, they're not going to go backwards. Now they're really going to take off. We obviously know that never actually materialized, although he is the guy who scored the OT winner back in 23 when they finally won around. It was on the stick of John Tavares. When Matthews, Marner, and Nylander showed up, it was like these guys, 18, 19, 20, it's go time for the next 15 years. This is the back end of that, and it by no means guarantees them anything because there's question marks with all of them. McKinnon included this season because he's 18, but also in the grander scope of things. Like, is he going to be the next Patrick Kane? That would be phenomenal. Maybe he's not. Like you got to play the games. I'm not going to bet against him, and I know the talent is there, and I think they'll insulate him properly. And I think, listen, the last 2 first overall picks worked out really well. Wendell Clark and Austin Matthews. Team's got a reputation of being able to get these guys to pop, but he's still got to go out and play. Radish, he had one phenomenal year, and now he's making a ton of money. He's in his hometown. It's a lot to deal with.
Yeah.
And Bob's 37 coming off a dreadful statistical season. So very different in terms of the immediate impact they're guaranteed to have. But I think that actually leads to more buzz in a way because you could sell it both ways.
Yes.
And that's the beauty of Leafs Nation is that there's always people on both ends of the spectrum. There's the eternal optimist that will say, McKenna's going to win the Calder and have 65 points. Radish is going to have 70 again and be a PP stud. And Bob's going to be a beast. And if all that happens, they're making the playoffs. That's going to happen. You're 100% right. You can sell that case right now because they haven't played a game. They haven't even shown up to camp. You can also sell the opposite way. That, it's the grown man's league. McKenna's not doing anything unless Matthews is ready to play and pot goals or what have you. Radish, is a one-off under John Cooper and Kucherov's stick. Bob's done. They're overpaid. Like it really, you could make the case both ways.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm not here to determine one way or the other on August 10th. I think we got to wait until we get to probably October 1st to really have a better read on the way this thing's all going to work out. But that, I guess, the driving force of this chat is the buzz being created. When it's polarizing, it creates even more because everyone can be included.
Right.
And that's what's happening right now with this Leaf team.
For sure. And I think there's a lot of people who've been around a while who are like, hang on here. Let's not get swept up in the shiny new things here.
Yes.
Because to your point, unless it goes perfectly, and there's lots of reasons to believe it won't, because maybe they bought too old on Bobrovsky, as good as he's been at times. Maybe they definitely bought high on Radish, right? Who was among the only real defenseman options on the market, and the Leafs paid a dear price for him, right? And can he live up to that? And then McKenna, hey, I mean, 2 of the last 3 number 1 overall picks have won the Calder, and yet they don't always win it. Yeah, they don't always pop, right? So, and you can also say, hey, this is still Austin Matthews' team, right? Ultimately, no matter what those guys do, if Mr. 69 goals, who's since averaged 30 goals in the 2 seasons since he did that. I mean, if he's not back to being a world beater and he's not acting like a real captain on a team that had some serious dressing room issues last year, from Anthony Stolarz popping off 6 games into the season to, nobody sticking up for Matthews when Radko Gudas kneecapped him, and then on down the list, we can go into a bunch of other ones. I mean, if Matthews doesn't start performing, get back to the performance that's expected of him for the money he's being paid and the stature that he's built, I mean, nothing's probably gonna
Everything
matter.
else might be irrelevant.
You're right.
Yeah, that may be the truth, and that probably should be the truth for the captain and the highest paid player and the best player. Like if you wear the crown, it's heavy.
You're right.
Right, and you've had 2 years. 2 years I can still sell, and I will sell. Blip on the radar, injuries, maybe the coach. I can't sell a third. Right? You have 28 goals and you're just not looking so great or as great as you once were. Now it's beyond just a blip. Now it's a trend.
Yeah.
And now you're appropriately going to be labeled this time next year as your best days are behind you.
Right.
So it's a massive platform year for him. And that is where it's going to get. I mean, the conversation will get to him as it should. Again, you're the best player. You're the captain of the team. Like you've got the responsibility, And there were a lot of rumors whether they're true or not. Where you stand on things.
Yeah.
Whether the team and the organization is placating to you, bringing in people that you know, or promoting people you like,
right.
Or whatever it is. And I get the sense like that's happening in some areas.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But that means you're putting your stake even further into the ground of what this organization is going to be all about. You got to get the job done. And I'm not telling Austin Matthews something he doesn't know. He's well aware of that. But you're right. I mean, I was having a conversation with someone over the weekend about this. Like, there's been a long history with this core. And I know the core is depleted now because Marner's not here anymore. But of them trying to infuse culture onto them.
Right.
We're going to bring in Marlowe and then Thornton and then Spezza's coming in. And we're going to bring in all these different guys and Ryan O'Reilly. Different coaches. It's never worked in the past.
Never has.
Like the best guys, they have to determine what culture they want to establish and be a part of. Brandon Duhaime isn't going to change Austin Matthews.
No.
Not going to happen because he's a raw guy who hits everyone on the fourth line.
It can't happen.
Austin's not changing.
Doesn't work that way. Locker room dynamics don't work that way, right? And so you're right. I mean, look, so much of the narrative has been put out there, does Austin Matthews want to stay in Toronto? And that's obviously a legitimate question. You need to know the answer to that question. But the bottom line is if he's a guy that gets you 30 goals and doesn't look like the awe-inspiring sniper of old, and he's basically a guy in decline, the game has changed. The picture has changed. Mm-hmm. And, whether or not he stays in Toronto isn't going to be the issue. The issue is going to be what can you expect if he does stay in Toronto, and what could you get from him if he wants to leave?
Right. Well, that's it. The value, if it gets to a point where he determines and they determine we're going a different direction. If it's 3 years of 29, 30 goals, you're not getting the premium you think you should be getting want to get.
Not even close.
The league's not stupid. Like, the league knows what's up. And, we're still waiting on news. And there's a power struggle in the NHL in terms of, the players having power, but, players under contract maybe getting some pushback. Dylan Larkin's still a Detroit Red Wing.
Yeah.
And Quinn Hughes is still not signed his extension in Minnesota. And the further we get away from the Olympics, I think the further we get away from these players living in this fantasy world where they think they can all play together too. Like that, I understand why they were excited. I understand why they had the blast. It was the moment of a lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
They won a gold medal. They, the way they were treated in the States as kings. That's every month passes by, that becomes, more of a thing of the past,
Yeah, except that, guess what? If you've earned the right to free agency and you want to go play with your brother,
sure, that's different.
You can damn well do it.
And he might be doing that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, the owner in Minnesota seemed pretty confident that they get him signed, but Quinn Hughes doesn't care about that.
I was going to say, wow.
If he doesn't want to play there, he's not going to play. That doesn't mean he won't play out this season and be great for you, but he's made up his mind. That I can assure you. If he wants to be in Minnesota, he'll stay there and they'll work it out. If he is determined I'm going to Jersey or we're finding a way for me and my brother to play in Tampa or something, then they're going to find a way to make that work too. He's not humming and hawing trying to figure out what he's doing. Quinn Hughes.
And don't forget,
he's made up his mind.
We just watched a very comparable drama play out in Ottawa where there were years and years of no, I'm good here, said Brady Tkachuk. No, I want to be in Ottawa, and then you find out, did he really?
I'm out of here.
Yeah.
Yep.
Did he really want to be in Ottawa?
He got himself out.
He got himself out, and it's sometimes the simplest explanation is the one you go with.
Yeah, and even if you're a fan, you don't want to believe it.
Yeah,
it might be true. Doesn't want to be there. Best bets coming up. Jays Sox tonight. OverDrive continues up on YouTube Live.
back to Overdrive with Hayes, Noodles, and the O-Dog.
Let's get down to business.
All right, best bets powered by FanDuel. Make your picks and assemble a same-game parlay in seconds on the FanDuel Sportsbook app. Vladdy Guerrero Jr. tonight. Total bases prop, 2+. I'm not talking home run. I'm not doing the home run props anymore. But he's been on fire, and they're going to need him. They're going to need him tonight. Sonny Gray on the mound. And Okamoto's out with a contusion, a knee contusion, and he's not playing. George Springer back in the lineup tonight. But Vladdy at home, 2+ bags. That's my prop. Paying plus money. Okay, I'm getting plus money on that.
You should.
I'm on Vladdy to stay hot. Stay hot tonight. Couple of singles. Maybe mix in a double. Let's get that slugging percentage going here. Come on, Vladdy. Best bets powered by FanDuel. Same game parlays. Available for every MLB game on the FanDuel Sportsbook app. Please play responsibly. 18+. Physically located in Ontario. FedEx Cup playoffs this week, right? Nice to see Rory back, deciding to play. Scotty Scheffler playing. Jackson Koiven got in on the number 70.
Amazing.
5 starts, and he's into the FedEx.
That's incredible.
That is amazing. He's such a good player.
That's phenom stuff.
Yeah, it really is. Feels like a generational talent type guy. And shout out to Michael Brennan, who had been knocking on the door for weeks and finds a way to pull off a win yesterday. That was
convincingly.
really cool. Convincing win. Yeah, that was really, really cool. All right, Dave, we'll catch you later in the week. Great stuff as always.
Looking forward to it.
Thanks to everyone behind the scenes for helping out. We appreciate it. Everyone for tuning in today. TV, radio, podcast, web, up on YouTube Live, and streaming shortly up on Crave. We're out of here. Enjoy your evenings. Enjoy the games tonight. We're back tomorrow at 4 p.m. We'll chat then.